Serving the island from Bembridge to the Needles and beyond. This is Vectis Radio.
This is Vectis Radio. It's Macca in the morning, and we've got David Icke in and on. Hi, David.
Hello, mate.
It's nice to see you. You call everybody mate, don't you? I've noticed. Mate in the email, you call me mate out there. It's great. No, it's like we're friends.
Oh, right.
Already. No, so it's good.
Why shouldn't we be?
No, absolutely.
This
absolutely.
is the first time I've been to Newport Football Club without watching a match, actually.
Is it? When was the last time you were here?
Oh, I've been to a few games here, but...
Good game at the weekend.
Was it? What's the score?
1-4-1, first game of the season against Fawley Town. So
all right.
Big, you know, all right, it's only the first game. But
you tell me it's good, it's good. I believe you.
Yeah, they won last week as well, and a week before that, 2 friendlies. No, they do say that this is the team that could get them out of this league, so fingers crossed that's going to happen.
Good luck to them.
Yeah. Now, obviously, you were a footballer yourself.
Yeah.
Coventry City?
Coventry City, yeah.
Goalkeeper?
Yeah, they used to call me Cinderella because I kept missing the ball.
Really?
Yeah.
So what did you make of our World Cup exploits?
I didn't see a great deal of it, but I thought it was pretty boring, really. It's 1 or 2 games here and there, but much of it was pretty, pedestrian, I thought.
I must admit, I didn't watch much of it myself because I didn't, obviously because England weren't in it for that long. But the football wasn't fantastic. I think in the past we've seen some brilliant World Cups, but anyway, how did you get from? I mean, it's quite easy to see, you're going from football to being a sports presenter, because I mean that's what sportsmen do now. I mean Gary Lineker's done it, and so many other people have done. But I don't get where you've gone from, being a presenter to what you do now. What triggered that?
Oh, it's a long story. It'd take a couple of hours to go through it, really.
Oh, right.
But amazing things happened in my life in the early 1990s, which basically broke the bubble, if you like, burst the bubble, and I suddenly saw the world in a completely different way. And what has happened over the last 20 years is, through extraordinary synchronicity, of what people would call coincidence, over and over again, I've been to 50 countries over the last 20 years, putting together a mass of interconnected information and connecting dots between, on the face of it, apparently unconnected people, organizations, events, countries, etc., to show that this world is actually controlled by a tiny few people compared with the population we're told is about 7 billion. And how it works is very simple, because people say, how can a few control the world? How can a few control 7 billion? Well, quite straightforward if you got the structure right. If you imagine a transnational corporation, it has a headquarters, it has a corporate policy, it's a corporate logo, and then in each country it puts its subsidiaries, and they run exactly to the same blueprint, same corporate policy, dictated from the center. Well, that's how this network of interbreeding families comes from, that actually are controlling the banking system, the political system, the oil cartels, the pharmaceutical cartels, the global media, mainstream media. You have the centre, and it's in Europe. A lot of it's in London, not the government of London, the centre of this web, the secret society web in the city of London and the temple and all around there. And then in each country there is a network of secret societies that are answerable to the center, the spider as I call it, in Europe. And so the spider sends out the agenda for the world, which is based on more and more and more centralization of power in every area of our lives, fewer and fewer banks, bigger and bigger banks, taking political power from communities, first of all to national government, and then through that now to European government dictatorship. And what they want is a world government eventually dictating from a center to everyone on the planet. And the role, the job of these networks in the individual countries is to change that country's society and structure in line with the centrally dictated blueprint. This is why when I've been to these 50 countries over and over again, Ian, I keep seeing the same things happening in country after country, justified by the same excuses. And if you want to bring it to the Isle of Wight, which we do, these national networks then have their subsidiaries in the communities of the country. And those networks are answerable to the national network, which is answerable to the global network. And through this system, of interconnected secret societies, the web, the center, the global center, can manipulate right down through into a local community like the Isle of Wight. And what I find wherever I go, because of the structure I've just described, is what I call the blueprint. So when I go anywhere and people start telling me about their experiences of corruption and manipulation and secret societies and Freemason manipulation, pedophile manipulation and satanic ritual manipulation, although they give me different names and different situations, soon as they start talking, I know what they're going to tell me. I was at a rally in Trafalgar Square speaking on Saturday, a rally against child abuse and social services stealing children from loving parents, which is an epidemic, by the way, in this country, not least on the Isle of Wight. And people from all over the country were at that rally, from Scotland all over, and as soon as they started talking and telling me their story, I knew what was coming, and every time it was the same. And so when you get down here to the Isle of Wight branch, if you like, you have a network of Freemasons and people, members of other secret societies, but the membership, if you want to call it that, of Freemasonry per head of population on the Isle of Wight is staggering. There was a book a few years ago called Inside the Brotherhood, which featured at one point the Isle of Wight, and it said that one in 27 males on the Isle of Wight was a Freemason if you take the whole male population. If you take out the male population in the prisons up the road from here, you take out the male population that Freemasons wouldn't be interested in, they estimated it that about 1 in 10 males on the Isle of Wight are Freemasons. And so you've got the Freemasons, you've got the satanic group, and I'm talking literally about literally sacrificing people. People find it very hard to take that on board. They think, oh no, that was way past history. The primitives did that. They're still doing it. And the pedophiles, and these rings connect into each other. And what it means is, for instance, say you are, you want to take a child from a loving parent. And do you know there are financial incentives for social services in this country to meet targets of taking children from parents? Surely it's got to be done on the basis of, is the child in danger? Never mind incentives to take as many as we can, but that's what's happening. And not only that, Ian, it's not only money, although it's massively that, it's also that a lot of these kids, nothing like all, no, but a lot of these kids end up being farmed out into these pedophile and satanic rings. So you want to take a child from a loving mother. One of the ring within social services goes along and says, we think your child's in danger. We think you, the mother, or you, the father, have a split personality and are a danger to the mother. And the mother goes, what are you talking about? I'm nothing wrong with this. So then they pull out, and I'm not just telling one story here, Ian. I've been on this all over the country, indeed all over the world. It happens massively in America for a long time. I've heard these stories repeated over and over and over again. So they then pull out an off-the-peg, out-the-cupboard psychologist, psychiatrist who's connected, and they then decide, sometimes having never met the mother or child, by the way, that actually social services are right. So the child's taken away. Then the lawyers, barristers, on our dollar, the taxpayer, then go to court and in league with judges who are part of the ring, barristers and lawyers that are part of the ring, social services people who are part of the ring. And I'm not saying all these people who are in those jobs are like that. I'm saying that if you want to take a child away, you make sure the people involved in this case are those people, and they take the child away from the loving mother. And as people like Christopher Booker have reported in the Sunday Telegraph and the Daily Mail, although these family courts are strictly secret and you can go to jail if you actually give details of these cases, that's why people don't hear about them. He's told stories, and I've had stories told to me by these people, where they're in court, they're distraught, doting, loving parents, and the judge has just decided their child is going to be taken away, given to foster care and then adopted, and the child doesn't want to go. And in the court, the social workers and the legal team are high bloody fiving at another victory. And this is possible. It's possible, for instance, to control a council if you have your people in the different political parties, if you have your people as officers of the council, as lawyers of the council. Because on this island, as with everywhere else, the elected officials don't run the Isle of Wight. They don't run the county council. The unelected, appointed, vastly paid lawyers and appointed officers control the council. And as a result of being here since 1982, particularly since I became known for investigating such things in the last 20 years, I have compiled a great deal of information, more and more all the time, about how this island is controlled by the most unbelievably corrupt, soulless, heartless band of criminals who are controlling the council. They're controlling social services, they're controlling the business community, etc., etc. And a lot of it, in fact, overwhelmingly, it is based on the staggering amount of drugs that are landed on the Isle of Wight every year and passed through to the mainland, and all the drug money laundering and all the other stuff that goes on with it. I've got an article on my website, davidicke.com. It's called Isle of Wight, Nice Place, Shame About the Cesspit. And the cesspit is the Isle of Wight mafia, and there's a email address on the website, whitemafia@aol.com, where people can tell me in the strictest confidence of their experiences of this mob.
I'm guessing you've got evidence?
Well, the thing is that what makes it difficult is in terms of naming the people who've given me this information, is they're terrified of the mob. You know, when you're dealing with, and so it's given to me in the strictest confidence, and that's the only reason they'll talk to me. But when after all these years that I've been on the Isle of Wight, since 82, and even more so, like I say, in the last 20 years, even more so in the last few years, when different people keep telling you exactly the same story, and I've had some stories straight out of the blueprint to that email address since it went up 10 days ago. Like the guy who, his father was a high Freemason on the Isle of Wight, he told me. And when his father died, he was asked to take his place. He refused. He said, I want nothing to do with the Freemasons, thank you very much, I just want to get on with my life. He had a good business, thriving business, family, kids, home, everything. And one of the Freemasons, or a few of them, said to him, you know, if you don't join us, you know, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, you know, you need to join us, or, you know, I can't speak for what's going to happen, basically. He said, I don't want to get involved in the Freemasons, I want to get on with my life. Well, when he'd lost his business, because people were pulling out of working with it and contracts with it, when he lost his family, his children and his home, one of them said to him, you see what happens if you don't join us. And I've had this story told to me over and over again. And a lot of it surrounds a network of corrupt lawyers. Now, I can tell you this from long experience and talking to so many people on the island. If you want to find a corrupt lawyer, then just swing a cat in Newport and swing a cat in Ryde, and you're bound to hit one. Because, you know, people, Ian, who are streetwise to this, who I've met, when they have a legal situation on the Isle of Wight, they go to the mainland for their lawyer or barrister. They won't touch anybody here. And I tell you, barristers and lawyers on the mainland, in the southern area, they know how corrupt this bloody place is. So the only guy I've ever come across, there will be others, but the only one I've come across is a guy called Jim Thorne, works out of Ventnor. He does stuff for me when I need legal help. He is a decent, honest, straight guy. Ask me for another and I'm struggling. There will be them, but the ones I've come across, you wouldn't trust to tell you the time in a room full of clocks.